Hello everybody, welcome back to a new episode of D&D Creature Feature. This is the show where I read you a Dungeons & Dragons based creepypasta, and at the end of the story, I'm gonna give you something from that creepypasta, like a monster, a subclass, a magic item, a species, anything, for absolutely free. But before we can dive into this spooky story, I'm gonna quickly have to introduce you to these two fellas right here. Their names are Edgar and Valerie. They're a pair of adopted siblings. Edgar is a chthonic tiefling College of Spirits bard, and Valerie is an infernal tiefling College of Lore bard. But when looking at this image, you may notice that something's not right with them. And that leads me into the next point, being that these stories have their own continuity. So, in order to better understand what's happening, watch the last video titled Cycles. It will help you a lot. Alright, let's get into the story. Oaths and Afterlives. There was a peculiar atmosphere in the air. The sun was setting, and I was leisurely strolling down a cobblestone road, surrounded by rolling hills and huge fields of wheat. Even though my surroundings were quite comfortable and pleasant, something just didn't feel right. First and foremost, all of my memories from the past 2 days or so were fuzzy at best and completely absent at worst. I didn't even remember how I ended up in this place. There was also the fact that I hadn't seen a single person for miles now, and I seemed to be completely alone. So I walked along the lonely path, trying to see where it led. It was an incredibly surreal experience, as if the world I had once known was swallowed by the oblivion, and I was all that was left. I had never seen this place before and was basically completely lost. And so seeing where the street would take me was my only option. Eventually, the sun had vanished off the sky, and the region was fully shrouded in all-consuming darkness, with the full moon being the only source of light in the visible area. Eventually, a thin, creeping fog began to cover the ground, and the air became increasingly frigid. But after a while of walking through the dark of night, I saw something. A person. The only person I had seen for miles. I hastily ran towards them, as I hoped they would have answers regarding everything feeling so strange here. But even as I approached them, they didn't seem to notice me and just stood on the road, facing away from me. Hello? Are you okay? I asked the man standing motionless before reaching my arm out to touch his shoulder with my index finger. But then I noticed that my finger had phased through his shoulder, and I felt like I was sticking my hand inside a pool of water. Instead of feeling physical matter, it was a strange feeling. I was absolutely dumbfounded as to what the implications of this were, when the figure suddenly noticed my presence and turned his head 180 degrees, glaring at me with a sadistic grin on his face. Startled, I jumped back a little, only to notice that the man's face looked frighteningly familiar. It was my face. "Hello, Edgar," my lookalike snarled in a voice that was identical to mine, but followed by a weird, distorted echo. "Yeah, you're me. How is that possible?" I nervously stuttered, slowly taking a few steps back. Despite the figure appearing near indistinguishable from me, it did have certain characteristics that were different from mine, namely unnaturally thick blood vessels poking out from under its skin that looked as if they were on the brink of bursting, large, sulky, swollen bags under its eyes, and completely whited out irises with diamond-shaped pupils. Well, I'm not fully you right now. I'm just kind of puppeteering your body, the creature proclaimed, steadily pacing around me. See it as you getting a well-deserved break. Must be exhausting being you. But you can now peacefully head to the afterlife knowing that your life is in good hands. I remained completely still for a moment, trying to wrap my head around the sheer insanity that was transpiring in front of me. What? I uttered in a stupor of confusion. Man, I really thought that you would understand my generous proposal the first time, but I guess I'll just have to spoon-feed you this information, the creature complained. Hi, I'm the Miasma, I violently killed you, and now your dead body is part of my hive mind. But the thing is that this body will eventually start to decay like a corpse, and in order to fully assume your identity and become a true living being, I need your spirit to submit to the power I have over your brain so I can continue leading your life while you get to chill in the astral plane. Doesn't that sound just perfect? Well, why would I? No, absolutely not. Give me back my body, you bloody scoundrel! I shouted. God, I hate those selfish people who just can't accept when they die. But don't worry. I can change that attitude really quickly once you meet some of my other consciousness fragments, the Miasma stated as the blood froze in my veins. Right after those words were spoken, I saw about a dozen silhouettes stumbling across the vast rolling hills illuminated by the moonlight in perfect unison. However, the most chilling part was when a familiar voice called out to me and I turned around, coming face to face with my adopted sister and lifelong best friend, Valerie.
Edgar, the air has really gotten cold around here. Do you think you can give me a hug?
She softly whispered as I gazed into her white eyes with diamond pupils. No, this isn't you, Val. I stammered.
Join me, Eddie. I'm so happy to have my guiding light lead my life, and I'd love for you to join me so we can be together forever. Why don't you welcome our benevolent god into your little garden?
Valerie attempted to persuade me, but I stayed strong, even though I knew that I realistically had no other option but to give in. There was another creature controlling my body, and regardless if I submitted or not, I was just a lowly spirit who was forced to move on to the afterlife. With tears in my eyes, I stepped closer to the creature in control of my sister, desiring to hold her in my arms one last time. But then all of a sudden, I was confronted with a true Deus Ex Machina. A young woman with very pale, almost greenish skin and shoulder-long black hair Wearing a green leather tunic outfitted with bits of metallic armor and wielding a glowing mace, stormed towards the Miasma infected horde and wrestled Valerie to the ground. "Come with me if you want to live," she shouted. "Well, I'm kind of already dead. Should I still come with you?" I asked, a bit confused about her statement. Pardon me, come with me if you want to come back to life," she corrected herself, and I ran up to her. "Who are you?" I asked my sudden rescuer. "The name's Mora. I've sworn an oath to protect lost souls from winding up in situations like this," she introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Edgar, and my body is currently infested with some kind of eldritch evil that wants to take over my life or something," I greeted her. "Well, I've dealt with things like these plenty of times. Let me try to revive you," she reassured me as she charged towards my body, conjuring up a swarm of spirits shaped like vultures around herself that began to peck at the adversary. Mora then placed her palm on the creature's forehead, and a beam of blinding light began to shoot out of its eyes and mouth. Not long after, I was whisked back into my body and was alive and well again. Additionally, I had regained the memories I had lost about me and Val being captured by Martin Bonecarver, forced to explore that creepy mansion, and eventually being killed by the true form of the Miasma. And those were very unpleasant memories. "Oh my god, thank you so much, Mora!" I gasped, finally being able to feel solid material again. "No problem. Is there anyone else I should purge of this creature's influence?" she asked. Perhaps that tiefling woman in the wine-red dress," I suggested while pointing at Valerie, laying on the ground and mumbling something about a wretched floozy. Mora proceeded to remove the Miasma from Val as well, and soon she was her usual self again. My sister looked around in a dazed and tired manner, and when she saw me, she joyfully exclaimed, "Ed, you're alive!" At first, I was excited to finally have my real sister back. But my victory was unfortunately cut short when two men approached me from behind. One of them was Dr. Martin Bonecarver, and the other a shorter, tanned, and moderately muscular fellow with a beard and short, curly black hair. Both of them were covered in the creature's black ichor and had the same white eyes. "Hello, Edgar. Long time no see," Martin gurgled. "Why do you insist on being such an annoying pain in the rear? You could have just given in and went to sleep. You could have had happiness and peace forever if you just accepted your fate and joined us." "Shut up! I know exactly what is happening here," I screamed at the doctor's face. "Are you sure?" the other man asked. "Because my beloved Martin and I are finally reunited thanks to our Lord and Savior, the Miasma." I squinted my eyes, regarded the duo, and came to a realization. But before I could say or do anything, Mora already dealt with them, and soon the entity was also removed from them. But while Dr. Bonecarver was alive and well, the other man wasn't as lucky. The doctor stared in horror at the corpse that lay beside him, tears streaming down his face. Even though Bonecarver put me and Val through a lot of trouble, I couldn't help but feel terribly bad for him. And so I asked Mora, "Can't you do anything to bring this guy back?" "His soul already moved on to the afterlife. I can't bring him back," Mora explained. "That man, was he Your husband? I nervously asked. Yes, he was, the doctor murmured. His name was George, and I loved him very much. But I lost him. Thanks to my own hubris. And one of my friends manipulating me. After making that weirdly cryptic comment, Martin had a stern expression on his face. No matter what it takes, I will kill this thing, he aggressively mumbled. And I would really appreciate if I had some help, he said, while smiling at Mora. Who, me? She asked. Yes, your skills are incredible, and together we could decimate this monster in no time, the doctor eagerly offered. Well, sure. It would greatly help me with my quest of freeing and guiding lost souls, Mora answered, and the two shared a strong handshake before charging into battle against the remaining members of the Miasma horde. But while they were busy fighting, me and Valerie strolled off, both exhausted, but happy to have escaped the clutches of this horrifying entity. Yeah, so that was it for this episode of D&D Creature Feature. And I'm going to give you a new subclass for the Paladin, that being the Oath of the Grim Reaper. It's the subclass that Mora was in the story. These paladins share the following tenets: defend any lost soul from harm, preserve life and aid with reincarnation, and prevent the incompetent from abusing the power of necromancy. I really hope you like this one, because I think it has some pretty cool features, which you can check out right here. So yeah, we're at the end of this video. I'd really appreciate it if you'd support it by liking, subscribing, sharing, or doing other cringy YouTuber outro things. And it would seriously mean the world to me if one of you would play test the Oath of the Grim Reaper Paladin subclass. That would be so awesome. Please give me some feedback. And I hope you have a wonderful day and stay spooky, everyone. Peace out.